Freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Wow, 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 I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. I feel good.
Yeah, we're feeling good here today on Declare Your Independence from Phoenix, Arizona. Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com, studio at the farm, where we're trying to learn to thrive and survive. You know, we have Larken Rose on that's going to help us understand his path, because I'm sure a lot of us may share it or are on the path, and maybe we can just skip to the end. And Larken went through the process of using the court system to demonstrate to the people just how arbitrary, double standard, and corrupt they were. And the first question that comes to mind is, you know, how supportive was your wife, and did she understand what you guys were getting into and the risks involved? Because she served some time, too, for this.
Yep, she did a month, and I did a year, neither of which is a particularly horrible sentence compared to what a lot of people have been through. And yes, she was amazingly supportive because she understands these things too. She wasn't supportive in the sense of, oh, I'll just blindly do whatever my husband says. She was supportive in the sense of she believes in freedom and in human beings acting like human beings and standing up against injustice. And of course it was an unknown what the outcome was going to be, and you can never tell, like, what are the, you know what the risks are. We might have to be in a cage for a while. But you sort of have to guess at the percentages. And the biggest miscalculation I made was thinking that, Americans in general, at least the ones who land on juries, are capable of thought and care about the truth at all. I mean, even on, my book, Kicking the Dragon, is about to be out as an ebook. I don't know exactly when. It's out of print. But if you read the story, the most frustrating thing about it is we won. The jury was just too stupid to know it. It was a slam dunk in our favor. But again, all they could process was, authority doesn't approve of you, you must be bad. And guessing whether they would do that based on because I knew we'd win in terms of evidence and law, because the other side didn't have anything. And they didn't need anything, apparently.
Well, how were the judge's instructions? I mean, did that lean them towards that way, or give them an out, or intimidate them? What did the judge...
Yeah, well, the judge, he helped make it into a ridiculous mock trial. By one of the biggest things was under the hearsay rules, by misapplying the hearsay rules, he basically said, well, the trial is all about what you believed, but guess what? You're not allowed to tell the jury anything you ever said. I couldn't play them recordings of meetings with the IRS, couldn't show them my video, couldn't show my articles, couldn't show my website. Basically, couldn't show them anything. So I'm in the position of, okay, show them what you believed, only without actually saying anything you ever said about it, which just made it ridiculous. But I knew, a lot of people have said, well, you actually thought you'd get a fair shake? No, not from the government, not from the court, not from the parasite class. My only hope was that, at least so far, you still have to have a jury to make the final decision. And that was the only hope I had, is that...
Well, that hope is going away. Let me share this little bit of information with you that... my partner on the Freedom Summit, his name's Mark Victor, and he's a criminal defense attorney. And he goes like this. He says, Ernie, first thing, over the years we talk and stuff, and sometimes you know who the prosecutors are, and you say, well, who are you going up against? Who's the prosecutor? And he would name the prosecutor and the judge. He knew they were the same team.
Right.
And then he started getting to where he didn't want a jury. And the reason was he gave me so many cases that he'd have, and he thought a slam dunk, just like what you're talking about. And he would pull the jurors, and they go, well, you didn't prove him innocent. I mean, they would actually say stuff like that. So he's like, wow, man. So then he started going, I'm probably better off, especially when you're dealing with technical aspects of the law, that I have a judge and not a jury. So he goes, we waive our right to jury trial. We're going to try this before a judge. Oh, we got to, Mr. Prosecutor, are you waiving your right to a jury trial? And Mark go, whoa, freaking time out, man. What? In Arizona, the prosecutor has a right to a jury trial if they want. And I got to see this. So, of course, there it is. The prosecutor can request, and often does. They now have gotten to where voir dire, French for jury tampering, they have been able to change the culture, get us all, our mindset, get our minds right, like what you're talking about, to the point that they can count on getting, and through the selection process, 12 people to unanimously say guilty, 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 guilty. So Mark is like, we are in dark times, and this has been getting worse and worse, which is what you demonstrated. Now, after you go through this process of learning that, law don't mean nothing, you can't count on whoever makes it to the jury, then what? I mean, you're sitting in jail for a year. You get out, your wife goes and does a month so that they don't have to put your children in foster care, and you're there a year. What was going through your mind? What did you make use of that time to do?
Well, wrote a few books, wrote a music album. But yeah, contemplating on what do we do if we live in a nation of people who are this willing and eager to throw someone in a cage for not doing what the teacher said, so to speak. And coming to the realization that, you were talking before about plenty of people know that the people in power are corrupt and nasty, and they break their own rules, and they lie through their teeth whenever they're talking, and all that. But there's a big difference between understanding that they're a bunch of lying crooks and actually understanding the reality of the situation. I would compare it to like a people who they knew their king is bad. He's nasty, he's malicious, he's sadistic, he's corrupt and horrible and nasty, but they still call him king. And in this country, they can say, oh, they're crooks, but they still call their commands laws, and they still hallucinate an obligation to obey them. And they hallucinate other people having an obligation to obey them, so that when they go into court, even if they think Congress is a bunch of crooks, even if they think the law is stupid, even if they think the government is constantly breaking its own laws and lying about things, still what it comes down to is their belief in this superstition of authority. And all the government has to do is say, that guy didn't do as he was told. And that's the only thing that's going to stick in their heads. The evidence, the law, the reality, justice, none of that matters. All that they can process is, you didn't do what authority said. And because of the strength of that superstition, and it is way stronger than most people realize. And if anybody isn't familiar with the psychology experiments done by Dr. Stanley Milgram, check them out, because you will see just how much a bunch of weak puppets we are when faced with a perceived authority.
When we come back, we'll get more from Larken Rose. We'll understand about some of the experiments of Mr. Stanley Milgram and how it applies now and what the solution is. I mean, Larken's around speaking to a lot of people for something. We're going to be changing what?